And we're live. It is Wednesday, the 8th day of October, the year of our Lord 2025. It is 8 o'clock a.m. in Washington, D.C., which is to say 6 o'clock a.m. in Aspen, Colorado, where my efforts to create better lighting for this show have failed utterly. I figured if I moved closer to the sconce light, it would help because, I wouldn't be quite so backlit. But I was wrong. I'm now kind of backlit with a side glow. I also figured if I put my computer on top of not one but two pillows, and I wish I could show you that, but that would require turning the computer, which would defeat the whole purpose. On top of a table next to the bed. I could do this show in bed, but I have standards, people. I am not going to do the show in bed. I figured that would help and reduce the cult leader vibe. And yet, here I am, darkly illuminated from the side and the back with a glow about me and still peering down at the camera. I'm afraid my efforts to avoid the cult leader vibe have failed. I am also, I want to stress, alone, abandoned by all my co-hosts. And yet, I am joyful. It's also going to be an abbreviated show because, speaking of co-hosts who have abandoned me, I am going for a hike with the estimable Kate Klonick, who is here at this same hotel in Aspen, Colorado. And we are at 6:40 a.m., which is to say 38 minutes from now, meeting in the lobby of the hotel. And that means that three things need to happen. One, I need to end the show at 6:40. The second is I need to put on shoes. For while I have standards, people, and that means I do not do the show in bed, and I do not do the show without pants, ever. It doesn't matter if, from the waist up is all that Zoom and the camera cover. You can always rely on me to be wearing pants for the show. I do not promise, however, to be wearing shoes. And so I need to put on shoes and I need to go out of my door to the left to the lobby of the hotel, all of which will take about 2 minutes. So I need to end the show about 20 minutes early. And then I'm going to go with Kate Klonick, and we are going to go for a hike and watch the sunrise. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish this conference and I'm going to get on an airplane and I'm going to get stuck at Chicago O'Hare Airport because I hear the government shutdown is producing delays there. And so I fully expect to spend some time this afternoon at Chicago O'Hare Airport, catching up on emails, reading the transcript of the Comey and arraignment, about which I am in a incandescent rage, and enjoying the afternoon of travel. All of which is a fairly like a 4-minute long winded way of saying that uh, the sun is not yet shining in Aspen, though I'm sure it will be. The birds are chirping. They woke me up this morning. It is going to be, notwithstanding the fact that the motherfuckers keep right on motherfucking, it is going to be a great goddamn day. And you are watching Dog Shirt TV, whether from bright, sunny Finland, where the birds are done chirping, because, it's past that hour of the day, or from Aspen, Colorado, where they are full on mid chirp. it's going to be a great day, and you are watching Dog Turd TV, and it is a goddamn revolution in morning television, and one of the revolutionary features, of which there are many, as I constantly remind people, and they persist in forgetting, is that when the lighting in the hotel room is just unforgivably bad, and whoever designed the Molly Hotel in Aspen, Colorado, which is a wonderful hotel in all other respects, and I'm fond of it, the lighting is not good for live streaming, and I have just done everything I can to make it good. And when the lighting is not ideal for live streaming, we say, oh well, and we do it anyway, and we look like a hovering, brooding omnipresence that kind of arises out of the deep and does a show. And another one of the revolutionary features, and there are a bunch of them, is that sometimes one of the members of the Greek chorus pops up on screen a little bit early. And this is awesome because then I have an audience for the monologue, and I can see which lines are landing and which ones are not. And then, of course, when I say that, it puts pressure on that particular member to be responsive, because you don't want to look like you're just sort of smirking through the entire thing. And so I try to encourage this behavior, people showing up before the monologue is done and just sitting there and being like the live studio audience for it. All of which is a long-winded way of saying that we are not allowed to have fun anymore, but we are allowed to have an abbreviated show that I do by myself, abandoned by my co-hosts, as W.S. Gilbert once wrote, alone and yet alive. And here I am, um, on Comey arraignment day, about which I am incandescent with rage, and therefore am not going to say anything except make vague references to, because an arraignment is, after all, just a preliminary hearing. It will have no substance, and so it is not actually a good opportunity to express my incandescent rage. Auntie Ruokonen, who I just made sit through that, despite the promise that the Greek chorus is entitled to interrupt at any time. The definition of interrupt may be a little bit flexible and may include showing up and waiting a little while until I'm done with the monologue. What is on your mind this morning?
Well, I just noted, as I did already in the chat, that you are actually quite Danielle-esque without the couch.
I'm sorry, I missed the.
Daniel-esque.
Oh,
Oh,
Daniel. So for those who don't remember Daniel, Daniel in back in lieu of fun days was a gentleman who would call in. He would show up on screen. He would be terribly backlit. He would sit in a plush couch, and that combination of backlighting and plush couch chair we called his native habitat. And he would ask extremely terse and very good questions. And I was always delighted when Daniel would pop up on screen, or would this was back in the Crowdcast days when I would get a notice that he was going to, because number one, he would not drone on for very long, and that's always when you're the guy whose job it is to drone on for a long time. It's always a little bit aggravating when somebody else does that. And so his questions would be super terse. And then when I pointed this out to him, that his questions were super terse, he would like take it as a challenge to make them even terser. And he had we had this game, how short a time could he be on screen. But then Auntie is quite right that the one of the cool things about Daniel's presence was that he always vaguely looked like a spectral a specter kind of summoned from the depths of hell. And I have no idea what happened to Daniel. I assume because he is not with us anymore that that makes it sound like he's dead, which I assume he's not. I assume he is gainfully employed and busy at 8 o'clock in the morning getting ready for work or the like. But Daniel, if you're out there, and notice the parallel there with, Russia, if you're listening. Daniel, if you're listening, um, I hope you can find the Hillary Clinton emails that are missing. No, no. Come back and join us someday. We miss you. The Greek chorus has consider this a ritual that we have performed to summon you back. And yeah, if I had thought of it, Auntie, I would have made this an intentional homage to Daniel, but in
Yeah,
fact, it really just is bad hotel room lighting. This is about as bright as the hotel room gets. Uh,
right.
and I think the idea is that you're supposed to open your windows, your shades, because it's Aspen, Colorado, and so it's like not cloudy, and so it's bright and natural daylight and everything. Except it doesn't work at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's dark outside. And so I just want to say to the proprietors of the Molly Hotel in Aspen, Colorado, think of the poor podcasters. Why is there no attention paid to the needs of early morning live streamers? You think of, I look around the hotel room and there's an iron for people who do appropriate clothing dress. There's all kinds of toiletries for people who groom in whatever way they might. But is there a ring light? Is there, you know, a desk and a chair that will put the camera on my computer at roughly face level so I don't have to stack pillows and precariously put it on there like a Jenga thing? No. And I just want to say this is an oversight because in the future, and the future is now, guys, everybody is going to be live streaming everything. We are all, it's just a matter of time before we are all wearing GoPros on our lives, on our heads, and live streaming. And they're going to be, embedded like cyborg like between our eyes so that you will see my life as I see it. And, that means, guys, get your Wi-Fi better. This hotel's Wi-Fi is fine, but all the hotels that don't have good Wi-Fi, and make sure the lighting is appropriate for YouTube because that's the future.
But Ben, I find a slight possible flaw in your logic.
Only one?
Only one, and it's very slight. But have you considered the fact that maybe they're catering to a specifically cult leader audience and market?
So this is a really important point because we are in Aspen, Colorado,
Yeah,
where people gather for the cult leader sort of thing. And
yeah,
but here's the thing: it's like people say about warm clothes versus cold clothes. You can always put on more, but there's only so much you can take off. You can always turn off lights, but if you don't have them, if there's no, if look, if a hotel room is built as a studio, which is really what it should be, shower, bed, desk, chair, writing instruments, studio. Um, you cannot use that functionality just as I don't use, the bar, the service bar in a hotel room. I mean, I don't use that, but it's there, right? But if you don't have the the bar at the hotel, then nobody can, drink themselves to into a stupor. And similarly, if you don't have a good studio functionality, well, then you get this.
But are you sure that you didn't miss the large paper stack that included all the all the necessary things for a podcasting studio? With it, there's got to be a folder somewhere there saying, here are all the necessary appliances that you can get from the desk up front.
Right. No, I don't think that, although there are a remarkable collection of shaving supplies, um, like luxury shaving supplies, which I'm curious about, because who is so fastidious about their shaving supplies that they use luxury shaving supplies and then forgets them? It seems to me like either you're the sort of person who goes over your face and then forgets about it, and then you're like me, and then you forget your razor sometimes, or you're the sort of person who uses, a straight razor with warm lathering foam, and then you would sooner, commit seppuku than leave your house without your supplies. Um, anyway, um, I think they just haven't thought of the poor podcasters, and that they're missing, the fact that the era of live streaming everything is upon us. And um, I don't know. I don't know what to tell them. It's just going to be a big problem for them.
Yeah, yeah, I do get your point, and I agree that it's a very serious problem. But I was wondering, you said that you are, what was it, incandescent with rage?
Yeah, I
Was
mean,
that the
I could have
term?
gone with fluorescent, but that would
Yeah,
imply flickering.
true, true, and that would be annoying to people in the
Yeah,
audience. Yeah.
exactly.
So I'm wondering, can you compartmentalize this rage so you could maybe vent some of it and save later for it when the process goes forward with the trial?
Well, I mean, there are a bunch of levels to it. And Joel has a blueberry soup ice cream update, which I hope he
Oh,
is going to give us. So I
lovely.
just noticed that going on in the chat. So I'm going to give a brief discussion of the Comey case, which I will mostly reserve for my column, um, but also substantively will reserve for what I expect to be a flurry of motions once the indictment is, or once the arraignment is done. You will have within a, a brief number of weeks uh, a, a flurry of indictments, of motions to dismiss of one sort, and those will provide the text from which to provide comment. But look, there's a few components to this. One is that um, it is always painful and uncomfortable to watch somebody you care about go through a criminal process. And that's true, by the way, even if the person is guilty as hell, right? Like that is not a fun thing. Number two, the fact that Jim Comey is substantively innocent of these charges. And I choose my words carefully. I don't mean not guilty in the sense that they will not be able to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt using admissible evidence. I mean actually that the indictment is not true, um, is a matter of which I am, like, convinced to a moral certainty. I'm not, I cannot tell you I can prove that, although I could get a lot closer to proving it than they will be able to get to prove guilt. But I am, and so you respond partly with the uh, anxiety and sadness that you would whenever somebody that is not a total stranger to you goes through something like this, um, but also with the um, the rage and anger of knowing that and not just an injustice, but an intentional injustice, a malicious injustice, is being done for all the worst reasons in the world. So
Yeah.
that's number two. And then number three is a a kind of despairing sense that I resist, and I try to keep both my and other people's spirits up, but I would be lying if I didn't say that it gets to me sometimes that this is the beginning of things, right? You go for Jim Comey first, and then you go for Letitia James, and then you go for Adam Schiff, and I don't know Letitia James at all. We've never met. I know Adam Schiff a little bit. I've hosted him at the Brookings Institution, and I we've interacted a bit. We're not friends or colleagues or anything like that. But this, it does have the feel, and if you look at the New York Times chart, John Brennan and the Open Society, like foundations, not that an individual and an organization are parallel, but these are people that I know, and I do have the sense of this as the thin edge of a wedge of authoritarian repression that is directed against people that I have worked with, know, and am and believe play a constructive and salutary role in society. And so there's something very ominous about it in a future-looking sense that and so and then there is this other factor, which is you know n- normally um, I would um, so normally if something like this were happening, I would um, y- you know I would feel like there's stuff I should do. Should I be there in a journalistic capacity? Should I be there in a friend capacity, right? Should I be there? Should I be chronicling it in some way? This is a situation in which there is really nothing to do except talk about it. And so I don't know if that's a complete answer to your question, but uh, it's some kind of combination of feelings um, of personal personal connection, personal uh, a sense of that this is directed, that this is the beginning of something awful, that it's a injustice, um, and that there's kind of like nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's an answer to your question. Um, Joel, we have a blueberry
Morgan,
soup ice cream update. Um,
I do. There she is.
all right, so let's start with the question that we ended up with, which is does it taste just like blueberry ice cream, or is there something distinctly soupish about it?
Um, to start with, I would say it came out more like a gelato. in texture. So it's
Okay, so we're calling it a
incredibly
blueberry
smooth.
soup gelato now, which makes it sound fancier.
It does sound fancy, doesn't it? Well, we're fancy people, you know.
But the
Um,
soup question still stands. You can't evade the soup question
no,
by
no, no.
pleading gelato.
I gotta think for that. So it's incredibly smooth, just velvety smooth in your mouth. However, the soup mix came with a thickener in it. Brenda, the lovely Brenda, believes it's probably tapioca. And so it has a very rubbery type texture to it too. And that's where it differentiates itself from regular ice cream mixes is the soup thickener had a pretty big impact on its texture.
So on
So
a
it is sort
scale
of
of 1
silk.
to 10, where 1 is pure
Mhm.
blueberry ice cream and 10 is pure soup ice cream, where are we here? Is it
I would say that
I don't know what
it's
soup
about
ice
50.
cream is,
Yeah,
but
well, see, that's kind of the trouble. I've never had soup ice cream. Maybe we'll do some chicken noodle here at some point.
right.
Um, no, I would say it's very ice creamy and very naturally blueberry tasted, not sort of synthetic blueberry tasting. So anyway, this is the update on the Swedish blueberry soup ice cream.
So, Auntie, as a neighbor of Sweden, um, uh, have you ever had blueberry soup ice cream creep across the border and infiltrate Finland?
You know, as Joel was presenting that lovely, lovely thing of beauty, I was actually thinking that I've never, which is strange because I have blueberries every day with porridge, with yogurt, etc. But I've never ever in my life had blueberry ice cream in any form whatsoever, which is
But
totally
Huh.
have you
weird.
had blueberry soup?
Yes, I have had blueberry soup. Yes.
And and is that do you associate blueberry soup with Sweden, or do you like feel like it's a foreign infiltration of Finnish culture, or do you think of it as local?
No, I mean, beating Sweden in ice hockey is kind of the usual thing that we do. So, not since the Middle Ages, the cultural influence hasn't
But
come.
but they get you back in cross country skiing. That's where they get their revenge.
Well,
All
Yeah.
I
right. So,
question
so
Swedish for
Holly is
1 year.
threatening. Holly is making threats in the chat, and I
Oh Lord.
I would like to point this out that um, you know Holly this morning, along with the other co-hosts, abandoned me and did not respond to.
Overslept. I
And
overslept. It
I'm not gonna.
happens.
I'm not gonna tell her that it's that she can't plead that it was early in the morning because it was 2 hours earlier here than it was there. So
I overslept. I didn't set an alarm.
along with the other co-hosts, she abandoned me, and now she shows up mid-show, and when I am cheerfully engaging with multiple members of the Greek chorus, talks about how she is not awake in the chat. So I courteously leave her alone and figure she is more than capable of piping up whenever she's ready to engage. And then she
This is
starts
just the kind of
issuing
gaslighting
threats.
a narcissist does.
Then she starts issuing threats. Look, I'm a cult leader. You can see. I, you know, of course I'm a narcissist today. How are you, Holly?
Well, okay. So my son doesn't have school today, so I didn't set an alarm, but I figured I always wake up anyway. So I was like, well, I'll probably wake up and I'll go on the show, but if I don't, maybe I needed the extra sleep and Ben will be fine, as he always is. And then I
And
wake
you were
up.
right.
Okay, and then I wake up at like 8:15 to like a sad text that he's all alone
He's a
and
hostage.
he's all alone. And the reason I woke up is because a man was at my door with my neighbor's dog who had gotten out, and he had found him and the neighbor's dog didn't have the address, but I recognized, he's like, "Do you recognize this dog?" And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like half asleep still. And then my dog's like attacking that dog. And then so I'm just like, whatever.
And
So
Holly's dog is a vicious monster.
yeah, although the Simba, the neighbor's dog, was like totally unfazed at all. He's a big dog. So then I'm just like, yeah, I think that's my neighbor's dog. Just let him in the house. Well, then Simba comes in the house and immediately starts like eating things and like and then Lilo is going like nuts. And I literally just woke up. Okay. So then I'm like, okay, I need to put Simba in the yard. So I'm gonna like grab Simba's collar and try to lead him to the yard. Well, my dog is 20 pounds and I can like pick him up and throw him over my shoulder. Simba is like 100 pounds, maybe more. And he then proceeds to like sprint with me, like dragging me, and like he just slams me into the door. And so I finally get him outside. My dog's still going nuts. And I text my neighbor and I'm like, I have your dog. And then I'm like, but Ben is alone. I've just like almost been, injured by a massive,
Holly, why is Simba not on camera?
Simba's back in his house, in his own
I
house.
mean, where are your priorities?
So anyway,
Did you
I
think of the
immediately
content,
just capture
Holly?
Simba, and
Look, this is
then
a
like
show
I'm
about
like,
dog
I have
cafe.
to come on and save Ben. I have to come on and save Ben. And then I
Simba
come
had
on,
to come on.
and other people are on the thing, and Ben's just like fine and doesn't even acknowledge my presence. And I'm like, why am I here? Why am I
All
here?
right, we are all going to take 1 minute of the 8 minutes remaining in this show to
Those are only
acknowledge
8
Holly's
minutes.
presence. It's going to be a moment of silence for Holly's presence.
Are you ending at 8:40? Did I miss that?
We are ending at 8:40 because I am going for a hike with Kate Klonick.
Oh,
And so not only did you show up only to be not acknowledged as we discussed blueberry soup, but you only have 8 minutes
oh my
to
gosh.
bring up any agenda items that you have on your agenda.
Look, I
Well,
want to get in some questions for Joel about his ice cream because I think that's critical. So, Joel, what tool did you use to churn the ice cream? You mentioned some technology.
I have from the lovely ninja people this ice cream grindy machine.
Okay, it looks like it has a lot of options. So it struck me that your ice cream looked like it was not as aerated as you might expect for a usual ice cream, and I wondered if that was a choice or related to your recipe.
It's actually quite fluffy at the
Okay.
moment.
I think we
Maybe
should
it's
have
the lighting.
peach barbecue sauce ice cream.
You think barbecue? Maybe with some rib chunks in it.
No, peach
Huh?
barbecue sauce. Yeah, with some rib chunks.
The other thing I
That'd be
wanted to
great.
mention, which is sort of for Auntie as well, is that my understanding of the berry ice cream is that often the recipes are counterintuitive, and in particular, strawberry ice cream contains a substantial amount of raspberry in order to make it taste proper. And so I wonder if the soup ice cream might also need some additional other berry flavoring, and whether you've experimented with that and whether that's relevant.
It's very blueberry flavored. So I think we're kind of there with
Okay.
blueberry-ness.
And can you articulate the creaminess? I was struck by the gaps in your vocabulary with respect to, the real attributes
Yeah.
of ice cream.
Yeah, my ice cream's
Scoring system.
vocabulary's not up to scratch, huh?
Well, I don't want to say that.
No,
All
it's
right.
okay. Sure, let me know.
Guys, we have 6 minutes left, and
yield.
we have to give Holly an opportunity to raise her non-Simba agenda items for the day. Holly,
Oh, I
what
don't
is
have an
on your
agenda, but I
mind?
will say, so in the chat, there's been some, and in the chat and everywhere, there's been some discussion or questions of whether or not we would have elections next year. And I just want to say that from an African perspective and from a developing democracy perspective, everyone has elections these days. That's not the issue. The issue is and you don't rig them on election day either. That's amateur
Yeah,
hour.
that's so 1970s.
Yeah, it's like, and it's so discoverable. And then it's also so, like, if you're having election monitors, which of course the US would not, because, we're a full democracy. Yeah, we don't need election monitors. But if you are a developing democracy, you'll have and that will be uncovered, and it will not, and you will be punished. So, you rig the election well ahead of time with all the things that they're doing now. You capture the media, you crack down on free speech, you crack down on the opposition's ability to organize, and to hold rallies. You mess with voter registries. Oh, we call that voter suppression here. Now, the ironic thing is, in other countries, they don't. There's usually an independent boundaries commission, or not usually, but in a lot of developing democracies, one of the sort of demands of international monitors, including the U.S., is an independent boundaries commission. So, which we don't have, of course. So it's kind of ironic, but gerrymandering is not so much the thing, although definitely, they target certain areas that are not with more more restrictions, to try to help them out. So you do all these things well ahead of time. Only a fool procrastinates and leaves it to the election day. Usually elections these days go pretty smoothly, and it actually puts the international community in a bind, because the actual vote and tally are usually mostly above board. And so then what are you left to do? If you're a monitor, you can point out.
We call it free but not fair.
Yes. Okay. That's it.
That's the
But
technical
it does
term.
complicate policy. It's much easier if someone just like blatantly steals an election, like Kenya, the 2007 election was just a blatant, and beneath the point of democratic development in the country, which is why people rose up and there was such a strong reaction. That was just boneheaded, right? There's a book, if you're interested in kind of a more developing democracy, which apparently, I don't know, we might become that again. There's a book by Nick Cheeseman. He's a British political scientist with a lot of Africa experience, called How to Rig an Election. And it's quite interesting if you're not familiar with how these things go. And maybe you should be, because maybe this is how things will go. But I do hear people out there. I do think I feel like it's a matter of time before we get the Insurrection Act invoked. I feel like they're itching to do that, and I do wonder. Then I'm fuzzy on U.S. law and the U.S. in the Insurrection Act, and if elections can literally be canceled.
Well, you cannot cancel elections based on the Insurrection Act, but you can do stuff. It is too long a subject to address in the 60 seconds we have left. Folks, we're going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to be back at home with normal lighting. It's going to be.
Oh, hi, Auntie. I see. I didn't acknowledge you. Hi.
Holly is going to be awake, and she is going to be acknowledged at the top of the show, and she's going to show up with cactuses as per usual. It's going to be a fabulous thing. And all of that, I have no idea if there'll be a guest. There probably won't be a guest, because you know what? I'm going to get in at 9 o'clock tonight, even without the delays in Chicago that I'm expecting. So it's going to be a late night. And I don't know that I'm going to have time to find a guest. But you'll be there, and I'll be there, and Holly will be there, I promise. And notice how blithe I am about committing her time. And it's going to be a blast.